June 15th, 2020. This is the Wrestling Inc. podcast. I'm Glenn Rubenstein, joined by Justin LaBar and Raj Giri. Matt Morgan is out tonight, talking about the aftermath of the greatest wrestling match ever that happened last night at Backlash and what we were met with tonight on Raw. So much happened, the fastest moving Raw in ages, perhaps the start of a new era. There's a lot to dive into, but as we were going to air, there was breaking news, Raj, and Wrestling Inc. has the scoop.
Yeah. So right at the end of Raw, WWE sent us and other media outlets a statement that a developmental talent contracted COVID-19. According to them, the talent was last on site at the training facility on Tuesday, June 9th, so last Tuesday. According to the statement, no other individuals that attended the facility have reported symptoms. And they said that all talent, production crew, and employees on site at the training and production facilities will be tested for COVID-19 immediately to ensure the health and safety of the company's performers and staff. And then once the test results are in, they plan to proceed with their normal television production schedule. So here's the full statement from WWE Associate Medical Director Dr. Jeffrey Dugas. Developmental talent who was last on site at WWE's training facility on Tuesday, June 9th, has tested positive for COVID-19. Since that time, no other individuals that attended the facility have reported symptoms. However, out of an abundance of caution and to ensure the health and safety of the company's performers and staff, all talent, production crew, and employees on site at the training and production facilities will be tested for COVID-19 immediately. Following the test results, WWE plans to proceed with its normal television production schedule. Now, as you saw tonight, they were using fans in the building. So I wonder if part of that
won't be happening again.
Well, no, I wonder if that reason was because a lot of the developmental talent couldn't appear out of safety concerns. So they decided to allow some fans in. Now the fans, I found out some details about the fans. They weren't tested for COVID-19, but they were given the temperature checks, which is pretty standard. That's what the talent had been given up until now. Also had to fill out a questionnaire. They had to sign a waiver noting that the threat of COVID exists. If they get it, WWE is not liable. So, so there we go.
I'm telling you, Performance Center recruits talent. WWE has some flex over them. They could say if they wanted to, hey, if you're coming to these tapings, as part of your work, you have to self-quarantine, isolate, whatever. With the fans, like that, to me, I'm telling you, I think that is going to stop after tonight because that is a huge unknown. You've got crazy people out there. You've got people that aren't taking into account their own safety. Who's to say that somebody, we don't know what the behavior is.
Well, what I don't get is a company as big as WWE, why they're not COVID testing instead of just doing the temperature checks. I don't know, man. I think, I don't want to get into it, but I think there's a lot of COVID denial going on out there, and it seems like, Florida has certainly had a case of that. And I think with WWE, this is the new normal, right? You've got all these rushes to reopen right now, and people are saying, oh, we're going to take these precautions, but they're not. There are precautions at scale. That's the challenge. You can't test people at scale before they enter a venue with rapid tests.
Yeah, this entire time, Vince and the company have done things, just within the lines, going out and paying for whatever it would take to get them the amount of tests they would need to sustain, because look, once they do the test once, you can't stop. Once you start doing it, he has to continue doing it until we are, on a different phase of this COVID situation. So yeah, whether it's money spent, whether it's do you want to hear the results of some of those tests? Not saying that he wants people to be sick, but it's like, there is such a thing as being asymptomatic, and it's like I think that they're going to continue to try to do what they're doing without going down the rabbit hole of doing testing, because again, once you start it, they can't stop. And like June 9th, it's only been a week, so they say 14 days. So we'll have to monitor and see in the next 7 days if they come forth with any other information. Luckily this week, I think they're doing 2 Raw tapings, 2 NXT tapings, 2 SmackDown tapings, so that'll at least get them in the can for the next 2 weeks. But I'll be curious if WWE alerts us to any other, if any findings, if there are any, or anybody else might have contracted it.
It was a safer environment, statistically speaking, during, in these weeks before, now with things reopening. I don't know. I just think this is potentially really bad, and I don't know that they're going to do anything differently because of it.
Well, AEW, they've been doing COVID testing, like the rapid COVID tests, I believe, and they're not super accurate either. But doing that with the temperature checks is at least better. So I mean, when you're doing so many tapings a week, it's not like you have to do the COVID testing at each taping. As long as everyone's staying, inside, after the taping before the next one, you do it once. That's the last one for the next couple weeks. Then you do it again. So the show was taped earlier today. Now, originally last week, the plan was to tape. They were going to tape it last week.
That's what I thought.
But instead it got changed. We had reported last week that instead they changed it to do just the NXT tapings that week on that Tuesday, and then they moved. Then they had the tapings this week. So this was taped today. This was the first show under the Bruce Pritchard regime, and we'll get into it. I thought it was the best show in a long time.
It moved fast, that's for certain. I mean, it was the fastest moving show. It felt different than the Raw that we've been seeing. Some of that was good, some of that was not so good. But I think
things actually happened tonight.
Yeah,
like I don't know. Sometime in the 9 o'clock hour, I realized I was like, we're at whatever point in the show, and like this has actually been a productive need to tune in so you can see these developments happening. That this was. It's easy just to say, I guess, Bruce, has a different vision or has some ideas. So let's just get moving. Let's acknowledge what's not working and move accordingly. It might be as simple as that. There might be more elements, but this was an entertaining show. I mean, 3 hours is always too long. 3 hours is long, but within the 3 hours, there was at least enough headlines to go away and say, okay, that Raw really put an effort forth in the storytelling.
Yeah, and it's Michael the Virus is pointing out, it had a story to it, and it did build a little intrigue with R-Truth and Drew, because you're like, they could have Drew drop the title and not get beat, and you have an excuse. When it happened earlier in the show and not at the very end, you kind of knew that he wasn't losing, but still, it does create that intrigue in the match. A bunch of matches had stakes. We always talk about that. The matches that weren't important were short. The title matches and the main matches were 2 segments. They weren't like 30, 40 minutes as we're seeing some weeks. So I thought this was way better.
I think this will be the first. I mean, I think there's one other one that happened somewhere in this pandemic time and the PC time. I think we actually might see maybe some kind of hold. I don't know if I want to say increase, but hopefully we don't see this steep drop to hour 3 that they've been trending with.
Yeah, that's what I felt like tonight. The rating, I think, will be higher just because, people have tuned out. I don't think all of a sudden all these people are going to tune in, but I think because the hour 1 to hour 3 drop won't be as much. And so that will bring the overall rating up. And if they keep doing shows like that, faster paced, hopefully they could get some of that audience back.
Hope so. So we opened tonight with Randy Orton.
Oh, real quick. Matt Morgan couldn't make it tonight. He got stuck in a meeting and wasn't able to get out in time to start watching Raw. So he will be back on Wednesday. There
you go. We opened tonight with Randy Orton being confronted by Christian after the greatest wrestling match ever last night in Randy Orton defeating Edge. What did you think of this interplay, Justin, and Randy challenging Christian to an unsanctioned match tonight in the main event of Raw?
Well, having Christian appear makes sense. I mean, obviously we've seen him appear recently before, but he makes sense, especially if you're calling, once again, and this is what and as Raj pointed out, and I misspoke yesterday, I forgot that they had called the audible and decided to film tonight's Raw today. Because I say this all the time, why in the world would you ever want to film a Raw that's going to happen after a pay-per-view? Why would you want to film it before pay-per-view? And with the situation of Edge actually getting hurt, this is a perfect point in case. So, not having Edge, pull out his best friend Christian, actually giving us the intrigue and the thread of hang on to hour 3 to see what happens. Is he going to fight for his friend's honor? So it was good. I mean, I never like the term unsanctioned. If it's truly unsanctioned, it wouldn't be in WWE's ring. Yeah, it would. There was a WWE referee out there for the main
he didn't sign a waiver.
Match. Yeah, right. But all that being said, I understand the point they're trying to drive to, and I was fine with this. I'll tell you what. Again, this segment ended, and I said, okay, I'm staying awake till the end of this one.
Right.
You know?
And it was very smartly done. I mean, we'll get to it. Christian obviously not taking any real bumps, so he didn't need to be cleared. It was done in a very clever way.
Did you guys think, though, that the expectation was too high? I mean, I saw on social media people like, oh, Christian's back. This tonight is the return. They're going to find a way to get him back and do some matches.
I think if Christian was coming back to wrestle, you wouldn't want his comeback match on an episode of Raw. You know what I mean? Like, so I guess I just was never I guess I was just expecting an attack to, the whole time. Or just a challenge, or Christian saying he needs time, but he accepts, or something like that.
I even almost thought he could kick the crap out of Randy, because that would put Christian at no physical risk if he just cut loose, kendo stick. You could do that and not have to have him take any bumps or be at any risk. I was surprised with I thought the way they ended it, we'll talk about this, I thought he looked like a Punk at the end there.
But I think he's supposed to. You're building Orton here. Christian's done. I mean, he's not.
I just don't like it, man.
I mean, Christian's still medically done, and you don't have Edge. You probably don't have Edge at best case scenario until Mania next year.
Yeah, this gets the heat on Orton, and so if you build to him and Drew, and you get Orton coming in as this mega heel, and then if they do SummerSlam in front of fans, I mean that's a big match. All of a sudden, you got a title match that means something.
True. Is Christian on backstage tonight? I don't think.
I doubt it.
I doubt that he's somewhere icing his unit.
Yeah, Raw talk. I mean, yeah, but yeah.
Backstage, Raw. It's all the same.
They're all the same. Yeah.
Shows no one watches.
Shows that can't hold a candle to this one.
Right. It's true. We get more viewers on some weeks.
I will say, actually, Raw talk. Yeah, but backstage actually is. I actually do commend Fox for backstage. Actually, is formatted pretty entertaining, and I'm happy that they do get to speak. Not WBQ cards. So I'll give that.
I do love the episodes where CM Punk is on, because he is totally honest. You could tell he doesn't care about any backlash from the company. He's not kissing ass. So,
but he's on so inconsistently that I feel like the big bang of him being on a WWE content talk show that Fox had, it quickly fizzled out, because it was like he shows up once. It feels like once every 5 weeks, and it's like.
Yeah, I think it seems like it's once a month. He's going to be on again this Tuesday, which is the fastest turnaround he's had, because he was on just 2 weeks ago. But normally it's been once a month. But yeah, I agree. I mean, if he was on every week, it'd also get kind of old too. But the weeks he is on, I do think are some of the best hours of TV, wrestling wise, of the week.
Agreed with that. Although it is weird how it's all sort of worked out, right? I mean, when the deal first was announced for FS1 and backstage, it was like, oh, CM Punk doing something with WWE, and it's kind of amazing how they managed to kill the momentum of that story.
Well, I think a lot of people just assumed that was opening the door for Punk to return to WWE, and they were seeing the WWE Punk connection more than realizing it was a Fox Punk connection. Punk's getting an easy payday. And, I think now the reality is in. Punk's not coming back. I don't see WWE changing their stance anytime soon.
But isn't it wild, Raj? You and I never really talked about this. Nick and I talk about it. Isn't it crazy that you have this new company that's well-financed and well put together in AEW that you think would fit Punk's mission perfectly, right? Kind of to be the ultimate alternative to the wrestling that Vince has just polluted. And their one of their home bases of their biggest shows is Chicago, and guys we at least are under the assumption that are friends of it, the Bucks, and isn't it just nuts that I would have thought for sure by now CM Punk would have been on an AEW stage, and now I feel like he's further apart from them than maybe he is WWE.
Oh yeah, I mean he dogged them. I know he legitimately got some of those guys upset. He was ripping on the way they were trying to make an offer to him. So, yeah, I mean, I agree. And, the only thing I wonder about Punk, and I think the same thing with Brock Lesnar, is that they don't want to go to what is pictured to be number 2. The number 2 company. Like Brock, he never thought about going to Bellator. It's always UFC. With WWE, he never thought about going to TNA. I think it's just that I don't know if feeling like it's beneath them or it's a number two, but there are some people that only won't want to be with the number one company.
Well, the moment AEW brought on, and I'm happy they did because he deserves it. The moment they brought on Colt Cabana, I said, all right, the Punk train has sailed.
Yeah, that's not happening.
It was weird, dude. I mean, at StarCast, CM Punk in Chicago did business with Conrad for StarCast, was not there on the same day as Colt Cabana. I mean, I was backstage because we were sponsoring a thing. They were not in the building on the same day. It's just amazing that with AEW, like nothing. Like if it didn't happen then, I don't think it's ever going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. But let's be honest. If Punk were to sign with them, they would drop Colt Cabana in a heartbeat, I would think.
Or Colt.
No offense to Colt.
Colt, you can come on this podcast at any time if that happens to
He's such a nice guy.
I know. I like Colt.
He's super creative.
Yeah.
And maybe they would. And actually, I don't know if they would. They seem like they're... Tony Khan doesn't seem that cold-hearted.
CM Punk was nice when he was there backstage at StarCast even. He was introducing himself to everyone, like introducing himself as Phil. Like he was in very good spirits. To the point where that to me was like, oh, he's doing something with AEW, he's happy. But no, it's actually amazing that he kind of made peace on his own before the FS1 thing and everything else happened.
Yeah. DJ Ryeffect saying, yeah, Punk will love the seat he is in rather than put his body through it. If he does come back, it would be a big payday, for sure.
Yes. And DJ Ryeffect also, thank you for their super chat. Glad you're dealing with your issues, man, and you're listening to the podcast. Thank you so much for your support.
Yeah, thanks.
Glad you enjoyed Raw tonight. So we went from that opening segment to Charlie Caruso backstage with Angel Garza and Zelina Vega. They showed us what happened in Backlash against Apollo Crews last night, with him retaining over Andrade and Kevin Owens stopping Garza from interfering. Charlie asked Garza if he felt bad about possibly costing Andrade the win. Vega said no one cost anyone anything. And this led to Kevin Owens versus Angel Garza tonight. Kevin Owens getting a pretty easy win and standing tall afterwards. But then Vega pointing out that Garza and Andrade want the same thing. They shouldn't be fighting or arguing with each other. So it's kind of... I'm anxious for this to take sort of a new turn with all these players involved that have been mixing it up these past couple weeks.
Yeah, I mean, that was certainly a defining trait of Paul Heyman's 12 months, especially the latter 6 months here with Raw, was trying to establish a lot of new guys. So, part of that was just by necessity, not having Brock, not having Roman, not having Becky now. Obviously, Cena's, very, very, very part-time at best. So, I'll be interested to see, like, does Andrade, does Garza, does Austin Theory, does Aleister Black, like, Street Profits, to all these guys and girls, do they still get the same attention? Is the same path still there for them, or what happens here? Garza's very good. I'll be honest, I know he's good. I know I've seen enough to say that, but I'm not yet like. I still walk around the room and do other things. He hasn't got that. He hasn't got that loyalty from me of attention. But so I'll be interested to see, like, if they stick with this, or if this is some way a chance to get out of what they've been doing and move on to something else. Yeah,
I think one of the problems I had with Heyman, which, I mean, in theory it sounds great, to push new stars. You definitely should do that. But when you're only pushing new stars, and there's so much of them on the show, you kind of lose interest, and that's probably one of the reasons you saw ratings falling, is you would just see these long segments with Humberto Carrillo and all these guys who aren't quite yet over. Whenever you see stars being built and being done effectively, usually you pick a few and you put them in the mix with the top stars, but you still have a lot of top stars on the show, and then you slowly bring people up. You don't just push everyone at the same time. And I feel like tonight, you're seeing Drew getting the push. I thought he looked great tonight. I thought that was one of his most effective weeks. And, I think Angel Garza will get his time. But, I think they need Owens. They need that star power, and they need Owens to be that star he can be. So I agreed with this decision. Maybe it was a little quick, but, I didn't need a 30-minute match between these guys.
Well, after that, we saw some of Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre from Backlash last night. MVP was backstage talking with Lashley, and then R-Truth they were talking about there's going to be the match with R-Truth tonight, McIntyre versus MVP and Lashley. So when MVP came out to the ring and was praising Lashley, Lana came out and interrupted it. Like, are they broken up? This seemed like this was the end.
Yeah, remember he said he wants a divorce.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is long overdue.
Who doesn't? Guys, come on, we're all married. Who doesn't say that, 3 times a week to their wife? It's common, right?
No, this is 2 divorces in 6 months for Lana.
Yeah, it's true.
In the words of Samoa Joe tonight, he goes, "She's racking up quite the roster." Yeah, I mean, this is a long time coming, and I've often been an outspoken supporter of Lana. I think that she just, there's something there about her, so I'm all for them keeping her under contract, and hopefully they figure out what to do with her. But this thing, I mean, it was interesting at the start. It was very Attitude Era, Jerry Springer-esque. The whole her and Rusev problem. She's with Lashley. Then but it was just blatantly they had no end game. The Liv Morgan, let's have a lesbian crash wedding situation. They didn't even want the announcers to say anything. They just too many things that were just for shock value, no follow up, no purpose, no progression. Lashley beat Rusev 15 times in a matter of a month. Granted, obviously, Rusev now gone from the company, so. But yeah, this long time coming. So I hope that I hope they find something else for Lana, and they kind of maybe tease such in a backstage coming up here. But this needed to happen big time.
Absolutely, yeah. She was kind of holding this feud down, and I think we've seen Lana when she was with Rusev, when she was the Ravishing Russian. She was awesome. I mean, she was so effective in that role. She can be really effective with the right material, and they haven't been giving her. I mean, I don't know who could pull this stuff off, But yeah, I think this is the best for the story. MVP is great with Bobby Lashley, and having Lana just in the background was just kind of muddying it. So,
yes, and Raj, due to MVP's promo, you learned a new word tonight.
I did. Yeah. Are we at MVP's promo? Was that?
That was what prompted it. Yeah, in the same segment.
Yeah, he said. What did he say? How did he say it? Get out of here, thought.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Yes, I had to look up. Yeah, I looked up thought, and
it's very, very hip and cutting edge for WWE.
Nice to know, Raj. You don't call your wife a thought.
Yeah, I do not.
If Raj called his wife that, she'd look at him and be like, "Dude, you're 44. Where'd you pick that up?"
Well, Glenn, you just revealed to everybody that Raj is asking for a divorce a few times a week. So at least in that time,
I thought Glenn was asking for a divorce a few times a week. All those stop bombs.
Do you really ask? No. I think there was probably a period of time where it was just with everything well, I want tacos for dinner. You want salad for dinner. I want a divorce. We can't come to terms. This is irreconcilable. I do sometimes overplay things for the sake of comedy.
Let's get a couple of these super chats. Armando Gomez, 9 minutes behind. It looks like Raw was good. Raj didn't have to drink to get through it. It's a Monday night. Can't do Monday nights. Terrible Trey says, I agree with your tweet. Very solid episode of Raw, but Liv didn't need to take the pin in that tag match.
Oh, it's true.
Other than that, it was an eventful show. Yeah, we'll get to that, but I agree. And yes, Christopher Lewis, we talked about it at the beginning of the show, but we'll talk about it more. Talent tested, developmental talent tested positive for COVID.
I was going to say, to be kind of a smartass, to be that's the problem with COVID-19. No one's talking about it enough. But truthfully, though, I do think people have stopped talking about it enough. That's why we're in the situation we're in, because people kind of let up on it. They got sick of it, and now we're seeing a backlash, as it were.
Ebony saying, if Raj calls his wife, I'm sure she'd slap him. I think it'd be worse than that.
Oh, yeah.
I think we've established on this podcast, including with Matt Morgan, 7-foot giant, all of our wives could individually kick each of our asses if push came to shove.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so as broken exclusively on my Twitter feed today, Akira Tozawa, showing up with his gang of ninjas on a motorcycle, was neck and neck with the finish to Edge versus Orton in the WWE audience research they sent out post-Backlash. And tonight, we saw Tozawa and his ninjas. I'm glad Akira's getting something. With this, I mean, it is what it is. It's actually kind of crazy. Could you imagine if even a week ago, I would have said Akira Tozawa was going to show up on a motorcycle with a gang of ninjas, and then we're going to have matches where it's 4 guys taking on ninjas, and Akira's the only face in there, and then there's a huge giant ninja. Like this, you guys would have thought I was like smoking crack a week ago if I said this was going to happen, and now they are all in on this.
Would you rather be one of Akira Tozawa's ninjas or one of the creepers in the Dark Order?
Ninja, absolutely.
Ninjas look cooler. Yeah. I mean, these guys were small. I mean, it was clearly there for comedy.
Well, compared to the
7'3".
Jordan, I'm going to butcher his last name. Angmagbian, I believe. Amagbian. 7'3". Kevin Nash and Scott Hall are big proponents of him. He can be a superstar if they give him time. Let him. I mean, you don't want a guy like that doing drop kicks and stuff like that, but have him make sure everything he's doing looks good and he works like a big guy and I think he could be a superstar. The guy he's got a cool look.
Yeah, because the last guy his size was Giant Gonzalez, and that didn't work too great. So let's make sure we really take this guy along the right way.
How over can these ninjas be when tonight they face the Viking Raiders and the Street Profits teaming up together, and Akira Tozawa and the Three Ninjas, as it's listed on Wrestling Inc. The Three Ninjas with Akira Tozawa lost tonight handily in this match, and then the Giant Ninja came out ready for a fight, and then Big Show returned to come out and even the odds.
They didn't really, unless I missed it, they didn't do a stare down between Big Show and the Giant Ninja, right?
It was implied.
I think that would have been cool.
But they didn't actually do, especially because the Ninja actually is taller than Big Show, which...
that would have been the first time, right? Other than Kali, I guess.
Yeah.
When they showed...
Rocky
Eric,
asking if he's Nigerian. Yes, he is Nigerian.
When they showed Eric and Big Show wearing the Viking Raider shirts next to each other, Eric from the Viking Raiders looked like Big Show's mini-me. Like, Big Show took his kid to work, breaking him into the business. Like, the Viking Raiders looked more like punks than usual to me.
This was one of the random times where I enjoyed their stuff tonight.
Really?
I hated this segment last night. I thought it was the worst thing on the show. It was embarrassing, I thought. But I thought their stuff today was fine. I will say this about the promos and the backstage. They did a lot of talking tonight. A lot of backstage segment, a lot of promos. But it all felt way more organic and less scripted. It didn't feel... It moved. Yeah, and it didn't feel like they were reading lines or reciting lines. It felt a lot more... I don't know why that is. I don't know if they were told to do it differently. But it just felt a lot easier. And I thought the Street Profits Viking Raiders stuff, it didn't feel as forced. Well,
next week they're going to finish the Who Can Do It Better series of challenges.
But at least it's an actual match, though.
Yeah.
That's what it finally needs to be. At least it's an actual match. It's not, it's not golf or something.
Lawn darts.
Right,
yeah.
Lawn darts.
Disco Scotty, $5 super chat asking Ben, wondering, do we have any idea how much money WWE is losing out every week by not having the regular paid audience and merchandise sales?
Well, there's a couple different things to that. WWE was actually losing money on live events. So they haven't been profitable with live events in years. So on that aspect, their profitability is actually up. Obviously, they're losing the Raw gates, SmackDown gates. That does hurt them some. The pay-per-view, obviously, and the merchandise. But this is going to be the most profitable year ever. So just the TV deals are such a huge chunk of their revenue that they're bulletproof as long as they maintain these TV deals and they don't violate those contracts.
Everyone is tweeting right now all of these gifts and videos from tonight, like the Street Profits going through the audience, Ric Flair, all these things that in light of the COVID positive test thing really are very worrying about WWE right now. That is what wrestling Twitter is talking about.
It's a weird time. A bunch of Cowboys and Texans players, I don't know if a bunch, but some, Ezekiel Elliott being one of them, tested positive as well. So, yeah.
But the sad reality is, it sucks, but like NFL players, pro wrestlers, there's gonna be no avoiding it. I guess maybe that's part of that herd mentality. Like, it's gonna have to happen. You just have to hope that you catch it and you can do the necessary things so it doesn't spread like wildfire. But it's gonna this is gonna happen. Like, if we think that we're gonna have our athletes and our pro wrestlers forever get through this until there's a vaccine and not get it, that's just not, that's just not gonna be possible. That's impossible.
It's just crazy, man. I mean, it really does. It's funny. I mean, it's typical WWE luck, right? They put on the show tonight. It's well received, new creative direction. Like, people are getting behind it, and now it's like, oh no, one step forward, 5 steps back. Like, WWE can't catch a break.
Well, if this is just it and no one else tests positive for COVID, they're all right. Obviously, if it turns out a lot of other talent have it, then it's a whole different issue. Then it's
Yeah, it's just, I mean, this is just crazy. It definitely puts a cloud over everything we saw tonight. Seth Rollins was backstage saying he knew Rey Mysterio's son Dominic was there tonight against his father's wishes, but he's glad Dominic was there. He needs Dominic there. No one has seen him yet, but Rollins can feel that he's here. Rollins headed to the ring to deliver a message to Dominic and his father. But first, we saw the recap of what happened with Christian and Randy Orton. Christian was shown backstage on the phone with someone. He says he knows the risks involved in fighting Orton. He says he's going to go ahead, hangs up the call. Or he's got to go, hangs up the call. And they really kept building that throughout the night. Rollins was outside by the ring. No sign of Austin Theory or Murphy. Took the mic. And, talked about Ray. Talked about Ray declining his invitation. I mean, this all built up Seth's monologue to Dominic attacking, sneaking in the ring from behind and attacking him, sending Rollins face first into the barrier, and Ray watching while this happened on the big screen.
I actually thought the Dominic sequence came off pretty well. You know, he came in there, laid in some good shots. It was a good cat and mouse of him avoiding Murphy and Theory. So yeah, I don't know. I thought this was. I haven't been the biggest fan of the Dominic stuff, and it's obvious that like this is a big stipulation of Ray even coming back to WWE in the first place. Is he wants to get Dominic in the door here. We saw him in the past do stuff. I think was that one of the Saudi shows? Did he make an appearance? Or was it there? Or
yeah, wasn't he?
you mean with the Brock stuff?
Yeah. So like they keep sprinkling him in every now and again, and I got to say when he has gone out there, he's looked good. I think that match I'm just mentioning there, I think he did something off the top rope, and it looked pretty good. And he took some bumps from Brock, and so I don't know. I think I saw worse from David Flair at times. So if we're talking about putting kids into the business of stars, this isn't the worst.
Yeah, I agree. I thought, a lot of times Dominic with his promos, you're like, he just needs work. You could see that he could get there, but it's just not. It's not there yet. Maybe the scripted nature of it, he's just not comfortable with it. But I thought tonight was great. I thought the segment worked. He got the better of Seth. This wasn't one of those typical they catch up to him and then beat him down. Yeah. This was one of those. It was almost like finally a feel-good moment for Ray and the Sun punking out Seth and then running out, and it was. I thought it was very well done.
Yeah,
I like Dominic in this segment. He's actually my favorite part of this angle.
And I think that's kind of the intent.
Yeah. Let's talk about Liv Morgan and Natalya versus the Iconics, with the Iconics getting a quick win here. What's going on with Liv, Raj?
Well, Liv, clearly Paul Heyman was, she was one of the girls that Paul Heyman wanted to push. I'd be surprised if Vince wouldn't want to. I mean, it seems like she's got kind of the look and personality that Vince would like. So I don't know. But her getting beaten here, like, she was looking really good. Her matches were getting better. I wasn't a big fan of those promos that she was doing. But outside of that, I thought she was looking great. So I don't know why they just halted that momentum. Maybe this is going somewhere with her and Natalya, and it leads to a program between the two of them. But I don't think she should have been taking the pin in this.
What about you, Scoops LaBar? What do you know?
Well, a lot of what Raj said. Yeah, she was certainly on that list of talents that I named earlier that you could tell were being in the focus of Raw. I almost wonder after having this was purposely done. It was a quick match. She gets the pin. That wasn't an accident. And then when we see that promo afterwards backstage with her and Natty, and then Lana comes into the fold, and Lana and Natty are exchanging, I almost wonder, are we setting some groundwork, kind of what MVP is doing on the male side? Are we setting some groundwork? Is Natty going to maybe acquire a little stable of women who are in a lost place, lives in a lost place? She Natty referenced, no wonder the Riot Squad dumped you or whatever. I don't forget the exact wording.
Yeah.
And then Lana, obviously, no Rusev. Now her Bobby's let her go. So I kind of get that feel. Natty's very much obviously she is the veteran woman in that locker room. Legitimately. So it would be very easy to buy that she's kind of being the mother hen here, nursing these women that are and guiding them into successful parts of their career.
Oh, so I missed that segment. I must have been grabbing water or something. But so I didn't even know that. So that makes sense. If this is leading to something bigger, that's a great idea because Liv's a future star.
Oh, absolutely. Let's talk about the segment backstage with Ric Flair and Charlotte Flair saying, "What's next?" And Charlotte kind of playing coy. I really thought she was going to interfere with Nia versus Asuka tonight. Very surprised it didn't happen.
Yeah.
I still think that Nia and Asuka isn't over yet. I still think they're going to stretch this out to Extreme Rules. To me, you shouldn't do Charlotte versus Asuka yet. That's a SummerSlam match. That's probably the best women's match you could put on. SummerSlam's the next biggest stage, so do it there.
Paolo Cruz versus Shelton Benjamin tonight for the U.S. title. Or not a non-title match, pardon me. Apollo's the champion, and Paolo won this match tonight pretty easily. But it seems like they're setting up something with Paolo and MVP.
MVP was kind of courting him there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they showed teases of MVP. I think they also had a tease of MVP, and I think they made mention or they had some reference of MVP and Shelton. So I don't know. So MVP certainly on the hunt to acquire talent. This is pretty cut and dry, but God, I'm always okay seeing Shelton out there. He's just super talented. I'm again going back to Paul being Heyman in charge for the last 12 months. I'm kind of surprised we didn't see a little bit more of Sheldon. I know we did see we did see a little bit of crossover with he and Brock for a brief minute
in the Rumble,
especially around Rumble, and
which was fantastic. It was one of the high points of the Rumble,
and even an episode of Raw, if I recall. But so Sheldon versus Paolo Cruz, two athletic guys. First time I've ever seen this, at least in a WWE ring. So I would be all right if they wanted to make this the U.S. feud for the next pay-per-view.
Good
and
for Sheldon,
Apollo with MVP, I don't mind that either. I almost feel like Apollo's been a babyface this whole run. I almost feel like he could use a change of scenery, maybe a heel turn and trying different things out and freshening up his character a bit, because he can go in the ring. He's great, but I think from the character standpoint, I'd like to see him evolve.
Well, it should be noted in the finish here, Apollo wins and he uses the ropes.
Yeah.
So that certainly seems like they're turning here.
I'd like to see it.
Well, so tonight this was interesting. We had a tag team match for the WWE title. It was originally going to be for the WWE title and the 24/7 title with R-Truth and Drew McIntyre defending against MVP and Bobby Lashley. Drew was very concerned about this. R-Truth changed it, so it was just for the WWE title, the championship. And this was a fun match. I mean, what do you think of this direction they're going with Drew? Even Drew letting Truth get the pin at the end after he set it up with the Claymore. I mean, Drew is definitely a much different character than he was even 3 months ago in WWE.
He is. I mean, he's been tasked with, you're finally going to get your world championship run, and it's in this kind of situation. I think he's handled it as well as you can. Drew also at the moment kind of has a lack of heels. They obviously really try to build Bobby up, and last night was the most legitimate, believable time in Bobby's 13 years. And I'm like, all right, he could potentially walk out of a WWE show here as world champion. Didn't happen, and so it probably isn't going to happen, at least not right now. But there is just a lack of credible heels. Seth's doing his own thing elsewhere. There's just not a lot of credible heels. So I don't know what's on the horizon. You'd think Randy Orton probably would be the answer for a SummerSlam. Randy Orton and Drew, as I think Raj said earlier. But right now, I'm okay with this. This just kind of having some fun. Let's get. I don't mind seeing Drew out there next to Dancing R-Truth and cutting a smile. And how about this? Did anybody capture this? At the end when Drew and R-Truth both hold up their titles in celebration, this was the first time that I think the 24/7 title was not just a complete conga line joke. I'm not saying this one night can undo a year's worth of comedy, but it had a certain just serious presentation tonight because of
No,
more
they did that
legitimate.
with Riddick Moss and like Mojo. Remember, they had like a serious.
No, I don't remember.
Yeah, they had a serious match
Yeah.
on Raw for the 24/7.
There have
title.
been a week or two here or there where they've tried to treat it more seriously, and then they dropped it cool.
But here's what I don't get though. They were saying if MVP or Bobby pinned Truth, they would still be the WWE champion. Truth got the pin and the win. I don't know. I think by that logic, he should have gotten the title because he got the pin.
Well, he then changed the stip later, Truth, to where only the world title was on the line, and
I know.
only those guys. I thought he said like the other guys can win. Only those other guys can win, or something
know.
like that.
I would not have been upset if Truth were the WWE champion. That would have been.
They announced
I
it
like
on
that.
social media. The referee missed it, but
Yeah,
per the
but
stipulation of the match, I
Wouldn't even be
gotta
mad.
say with Drew. Drew, the last, without the crowd, at times it kind of came across like he was trying too hard to be kind of cutesy, funny. I thought his interactions with R-Truth were great tonight. I thought they played off each other well. It didn't seem, again, like I was saying with a lot of the other segments, it didn't seem forced. They seemed to be playing off each other naturally. And I thought Drew came across great here. And then his chemistry with R-Truth, I thought it was one of those odd couple things that really worked. And I thought this was a fun match.
So we had Ric Flair backstage talking to Christian, telling him not to get hurt. And they really built this, especially for that turn later tonight. But then we had the celebration tonight. Well, it's Bayley's birthday week. She was out with Sasha celebrating their win at Backlash last night. And they were interrupted by the Iconics. So they're going to have a match next week on Raw. And this week on NXT, they're going to take on Tegan Nox and Shotzi Blackheart for the tag titles.
And they're pretty much saying that they're not losing the titles on Wednesday.
I know.
And
I think
they
it's going
also-
to be a great match. Sorry.
And they also advertise Sasha and Bayley next Monday if they are still champions up against the Iconics.
It's like when Brock was facing Ricochet, and they're like, if Brock is still champion, he's facing Drew, even though they're doing all the angles for it. But yeah. I mean, the way they were making it sound, I thought the match was going to be tonight at first, but yeah. I mean, there's a story there. I'd like to see Sasha and Bayley move on to a team, more serious. You'd mentioned Natty earlier, whether it's Natty and Liv. I don't know if Liv and Lana as a tag team right now, but have a more serious feud and get out of this with all the yelling and comedy that they're doing right now.
It's the Iconic shtick, man. I mean, what are they going to do?
But I think they bring the champions down and the titles down.
Not a fan. Not a fan of.
I'm a fan of them as characters, like and just not at the top. And if you really want the women's tag titles to mean something, you need to have it taken more seriously. In my opinion.
Yeah, it's just kind of their gimmick, though. I mean, it's who they are.
I look at the Iconics. I think they can. I think they can be that gimmick, but I still think that they can be like credible and get into the championship picture. I know. The chat room will probably blow up on this. I look at the Iconics kind of as like very early Edge and Christian, just very early goofy, But when the bell rings, it can still be. They could still build some credibility. They need to get. They just came back, so it's going to take some time. They need to of consistency. But I don't think just because they can be that annoying voices and Iconics and all that stuff, I still think that they could be credible. So I don't write them off in this tag division as just being comedy. I think that they could be somebody you angle as serious heels.
And I like that promo tonight when they talked about them pitching a fit and crying after losing the titles of Mania. I love that WWE has taken that report and made that kayfabe.
Yeah, I think that they've mentioned that a couple other times before too, right?
So where did that come from? Who broke? Someone broke that story.
Satin.
Yeah, and it was supposedly Sasha and Bayley were so upset that they were booked to lose the tag titles so quickly to the Iconics that at WrestleMania they got on the floor and threw a crying fit. Basically,
I think it was just Sasha.
Okay, Sasha.
Well, I think they were both there, but I think it was more Sasha. But look, we talked about this last year. I don't blame Sasha. They're trying to. They worked hard to get them to approve and bring these tag titles on, and then to just drop it with no story no meaning, never give them a chance to properly build it. I agree. I would have been upset too. You
But
should take this stuff seriously. Can you imagine Bret Hart?
I agree.
You're losing to Doink in your first defense, and
Well,
you
but
know,
the way
or
they pitch it, though,
Isaac Yankem.
no one would ever characterize it that way about a male talent. No one would say at Backlash last night, Bobby Lashley was on the floor, rolling around, pounding his fist and crying because he didn't win the WWE Championship. It is kind of like a messed up characterization.
Unless they were messing around too.
Yeah, they could have been.
I can't see them, really legitimately, hitting the ground and.
But yeah, now it's become such a part of kayfabe, and I like the Ikonics promo tonight. I think this will be good, and because they beat them at WrestleMania, I absolutely think they could beat them next Monday.
But why have them take the loss at Backlash last night?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Does any of it make sense, Raj?
No. Well,
none of it does.
Yeah. Asuka and Nia having a rematch did, I guess.
It did, except how are they going to keep this going? Where it's like last night, Asuka clearly won. She just missed coming back to the ring, was counted out by a hair. And tonight she got a decisive victory, Asuka did, over Nia Jax.
Well, the referee did a fast count. Well, is that next?
Count. Yeah, that's next.
Okay.
And they're saying that, was she distracted? I don't know. She rolled up. It was a fast count, but it did look pretty decisive tonight. You look at the women in the ring.
Nia pissed the ref off, right? And so the ref was about to disqualify her. Asuka rolled her up, and the ref did a quick count. So she has a gripe, that the ref was biased and made a, it was unfair.
But do you think they're credibly doing this match? I don't remember, and granted, I don't remember anything. I mean, I don't know what year it is, certainly not what day it is, but I feel like in these matches, I haven't seen Nia looking dominant. Glimpses, perhaps, but Asuka seems like she's in control of these matches.
Yeah, but even still, Asuka's last, since she's become champion, a double count out, so she gets the title, and then she wins on a fast count. I mean, it's not exactly the most credible stretch there for her. So. That's
true. I mean, Bayley got a decisive win over Nia in NXT. That was a great match.
I mean, this Nia, you got Extreme Rules coming up. I've got to think they're going to have some step and have them again. I don't know what it would be. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe a last man standing match or something like that. Do a last woman standing since I don't know. So
we get to the end. We get to this unsanctioned match. Christian walking into the ring wearing all black, he had the confidence of remember Walter White in the early seasons of Breaking Bad when he'd go to a drug deal? That's what Christian looked like tonight. He did not look in place there. It looked like he was marching to a funeral. And then right when the match was getting going, Ric Flair appears from behind and punched him in the nuts.
Yeah, as we talked about at the beginning, this was kind of a creative way. Christian really can't do a match, but they were able to get 3 hours of build of Christian's going to be in the ring with Randy Orton, see what happens. I think this is done pretty well. And again, it made sense. The punt, I said it last night. I said with the finish to Randy and Edge, and I'll say it again tonight. That's one of the great things about having these shows where you have time to do a little bit of editing. Randy's punt had credibility for a time period there. I don't know if it was 09 or 10, whenever he implemented in his arsenal. And then there's been a long string where he would act like he's going to get the punt and he would swing and miss, and he hadn't hit the punt in years. And so I kind of like in these now that they can do some editing and some camera tricks that he's doing, and it looks brutal. They can take the angle, take the right angle and cut it, and it's getting that move back over, and it was perfect. It's an easy thing to believe that it takes Christian out. Christian's laying there, and Randy just, I cared about you, telling the paramedics, please take care of him. This is Randy. Randy Orton might be he might be the star of 2020, all things considered.
Randy Orton's gonna kick your ass and then whisper sweet nothings to you while the paramedics take care of you.
Yeah, Randy Orton's he's been on fire. I thought he was great tonight. I like this angle. Again, it was cleverly done. It was still physical technically. So, people, it wasn't like he just walked away or something like that, because that would have been more of a cop-out. But doing it this way, you got around Christian's limitations. You had an interesting angle. I don't know how many people saw the Flair thing coming. I didn't see it coming, but People in the chat are saying that they saw the Flair turn coming. I thought it was just well done. It just adds to Orton. Again, you build him up for Drew, and that's your money match.
Again, I don't like the fact there's a WWE referee in there. If it's unsanctioned, why is there a referee? Why is there a WWE referee? I don't like let some rogue person come that's in some other official shirt. I don't want to see a WWE referee out there that I know in this unsanctioned match that you make me hear over and over about.
And AEW with the lights out matches, right? Those are supposed to be unsanctioned, and they have a referee too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Especially with what happened, you don't need a referee. You could literally have it to be like, these two guys are just going to fight, have the Flair angle come out, Flair does whatever, Orton could just punt him, and the guy's knocked out. Christian's knocked out. You don't need to have a 1, 2, 3. It's just that's it. Paramedics.
Yeah. Cole Prescott saying Randy is better as a heel. Absolutely. I can't remember the last time he had an effective face run.
So that was Raw tonight.
That was a Raw tonight.
I liked it. It was the easiest Raw to sit through in a long time. So I'm a fan for these changes. Shorter matches, have them longer when you need it. For title matches, main event stuff, have that go 2 segments. Otherwise, it's 1 segment, move on.
Yep.
That's how they did it back in the 90s. You never had matches go through a commercial break.
Well, and that's and you're right, Raj. I think that comes into that. There's that vocal. I still say it's that vocal minority, and maybe it's those on Twitter or Reddit or whatever on social that are like, work rate. We need to see 30-minute matches. Right. We need to see all these false. No, save that for the pay-per-view when needed. Your average person who you're trying to draw in on these free shows on cable doesn't want to sit through a 30-minute match that has 3 commercial breaks. They just want to see the character. They want to see the entrance. They want to see a little bit of the high points, and then give me some character development stuff backstage. Save if somebody's going to pay to watch a pay-per-view, then you can give them the longer storied match. But that gets drowned out by a whole lot of people saying no, you got to see work rate. But it's just those people saying it. But it's a whole lot of other people we're not hearing from, and it's those people that are tuning out as the ratings would show you.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I've been saying that forever.
So what else do we got? What else is going on in the world of wrestling?
Came out over the weekend that AJ Styles, he was moved to SmackDown because he actually this happened a few weeks ago, but he had issues with Paul Heyman. He was apparently very upset with Heyman over Gallows and Anderson getting fired, even though that was ultimately a Vince McMahon call. But Styles held out against Heyman. Maybe he felt like Heyman didn't use him enough, and then that's why they were expendable. I don't know, but yeah, AJ Styles had issues with Heyman. Now, Heyman was not at Raw tonight. Earlier, there was a report that Heyman was there, but he wasn't at Raw today.
Interesting.
What else do you think, Raj? I mean, obviously Heyman is on air with Lesnar whenever Lesnar is needed back. Do you think to fill the void now that Paul Heyman doesn't have the office responsibility, do you think they try to find somebody else to put him with as a mouthpiece? Guy or girl?
Outside of CM Punk, everyone they tried it with, it didn't work.
Right.
Cesaro, Curtis Axel.
Ryback.
Is there anyone else I'm missing?
Ryback?
Ryback, right? Yeah, Ryback.
Oh, come on, Raj.
Raj is just trying to fill the Heyman-sized hole in Ryback's heart.
But yeah, it has to be the right personality, and I just don't know who really fits.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, Punk and Lesnar both work because everybody legitimately knew. Okay, there is a real relationship behind the scenes of these two guys. Yeah, Ryback, Axel, Cesaro. It felt very forced.
Honestly, I'd like to see Lesnar without Heyman for a while, and I don't think he should be cutting 15-minute promos, but just short and simple, quick and easy, and just kind of do a little bit of his own talking for a little bit. That would freshen him up because these Heyman-Lesnar segments have gotten stale.
Remember when they teased for a few weeks that Lesnar was going to turn on Heyman? It was in the same stint where Lesnar gave that famous line about how he likes his steak.
Right. Yeah.
They were teasing that those two were going to split up, and I'm glad that actually got halted because it just doesn't make sense to not have them together. It's just, you know.
If you do it, switch it up. Yeah.
What's that other story about this one intrigues me, Raj. This confidential witness.
Oh, okay.
You have this?
Yeah, so let me...
It's like a whodunit clue, but you narrow down pretty quickly.
Oh, it's easy. You can easily figure out who it is. I don't get why they put what they did in the lawsuit if it's a confidential witness, because it's only one person it could be.
That could be.
So there is a class action lawsuit that's being... The documents were filed last week. The lawsuit, it had started, I believe it was like back in March, with all these different firms suing WWE, saying WWE misrepresented their dealings with Saudi Arabia, springing up a bunch of stuff with their TV deals, how they haven't been honest with shareholders, and talking about the problems that they've had with the country. Now, if you guys remember last October after Crown Jewel, the WWE talent and crew were delayed in the country for almost a day. It might have even been a little more than a day. That SmackDown that week had to be changed. They had NXT talent on it. There were a lot of people tweeting from the plane, like Rusev and some other guys, and Carl Anderson, who were concerned. Wives were tweeting that were concerned. And so at the time, Hugo Savinovich, former WWE Spanish commentator, he was saying that the plane was held up because Saudi Arabia actually owed WWE money for their last show, and that Vince McMahon was upset at not getting it, so he pulled the Crown Jewel feed, the live TV feed in the country, and the Crown Jewel feed was pulled for like a half an hour. It started late, and that the Crown Prince got so upset over the move that he ordered this whole thing to take place. Now, the people with this lawsuit, they have two confidential witnesses. One is for the TV side of the deal, and then the other is a former WWE wrestler, they said, who wrestled for the company from 2012 to April of 2020. So he was clearly part of the releases. If you go back, you look at, and they also said he participated in the Crown Jewel event last October. So if you just look at the wrestlers who competed at Crown Jewel, you got and the ones that have been released. You got Rusev, Eric Rowan, Cain Velasquez, Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson, Dax Harwood, Cash Wheeler, the Revival, Curtis Axel, Kurt Hawkins, and Zack Ryder. Now, if you go and see who started in 2012, it brings it down to one. So anyway, so they got this confidential witness who is saying that he had asked a stewardess on the flight about the delay and was told that it seems someone doesn't want us to leave the country. And then he said that the pilot sounded distressed when he told the passengers that the flight wasn't able to depart. And then he allegedly went to the WWE Senior Director of Talent Relations, Mark Carrano, and asked him what was happening. And Carrano actually told him that the Crown Prince and McMahon had gotten into an argument over money from the June 7th, 2019 Super Showdown event. So, this is all, if this goes to court, this is all under oath. So,
so now we know what was in the cage. It was legal papers.
Right. Yeah. Well, it wasn't Rowan.
Well, no, I thought it was.
No.
He started.
Rowan was a year later. Hold on a second.
No.
Yes. Hold on a second. He was technically with the company since 2011.
Well, I guess developmental he was, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then I'm.
All right. It's Scott Dawson.
I could have swore it would have been Rowan. I thought 2012. All right.
Scott Dawson started in 2012. Unless they're counting. If they're not counting FCW, then it could be Dawson or Rowan because they both started in 2012.
Rowan's 2012, and Rowan was he definitely was in the Crown Jewel show. He I think he was part of it Battle Royal. I think he got there's last eliminated. I think
he was a part of it. I'm forgetting exactly what he did, but yeah.
When I read that, I thought for sure it was Rowan.
Yeah, no, Scott Dawson signed with WWE in 2012 and was with the Performance Center. FCW is not. I guess that's a WWE developmental contract, so that would have been 2011. It's one of those. So hey, look, we didn't blow the confidential witness. Then it could be one of those two.
It's like the ending of Clue. Here's 3 different ways it could have happened.
So they put all these in the court documents. I'm sure the wrestler by saying he competed at Crown Jewel was released in 2019. They basically spelled it out. But anyway, so yeah, that's what's happening there.
There you have it. Anything else to cover before we take this home?
Oh yeah, one last thing. Edge, his triceps, torn triceps injury. That actually happened after the match. So after the match, they retaped different stuff. So like an RKO from the top rope, they retaped it. And during the retapes, he hurt he got the torn triceps. So he had already done that long match and was fine. And then it was the post stuff. So
which is a good piece of information to have, because prior to the match airing on Backlash last night, if you're okay about spoilers, you could see on the internet that the news was out that he had gotten hurt in this match. And then you watch the match, and I'm doing it. I'm waiting and trying to find the spot, and I'm like, I don't see it. He does. There's at no point does it look like you tear a tricep. There's going to be a noticeable
and they're going to be favoring it.
Yeah, and they're just it wasn't there. And I remember thinking to myself after the match was done, and even when we got into this podcast last night, I was like, man, Edge is a tough SOB, because I couldn't detect it anywhere. I couldn't see any bit of where it happened.
Yeah. And so they did show a shot of him laying out after the match. And they might have shot this after the torn triceps, because you can see a bruise on his arm. But outside of that, yeah, it was taped during the retakes, and obviously they didn't use that take. So you never saw it.
Makes it even worse, man, that it wasn't a live accident. Like this was a setup. They set up for that particular spot, and then
taping it ahead of time.
You get injured on a deleted scene. What a great.
Yeah, it sucks because, with the company that's kind of depleted on star power right now, Edge, he only had a few more matches left this year, but he also had a lot of segments to go with those, and so. Not having him on TV, and he's one of the better promos in the company right now. It hurts.
Yeah, I mean, timeline-wise, if 8 months is the guesstimated timetable, I mean, this basically puts it best case scenario. He's ready to go for Mania next year, and then he can finally have a match in front of. He can have a one-on-one match in front of the crowd. And
we'll have to see the recovery time too, because he is 46 years old as well.
Yeah.
Wow. There you have it, guys. Fast-moving Raw, fast-moving podcast tonight.
Jesus. I mean, we just flying through tonight.
It's a new era.
Well, started early. Raj doesn't pay me by the minute, so I'm not here to sit around and look pretty for longer than I need to.
We didn't have to wait around for 20 minutes for Matt to come on.
I ate that burrito with ketchup today, Raj. It ain't sitting well with me.
But it tasted good.
No, it really didn't.
Ketchup doesn't mess up your stomach.
It tasted like Heinz ketchup on a burrito.
Yeah, it's really good.
Ew.
On a frozen burrito, it's good.
I put some curry ketchup on it, and that was really good.
I like
curry ketchup. Have you ever tried that brand, New Delhi? Spelled DELHI. They have a curry mustard and a curry ketchup you can get at Whole Foods. That stuff's fantastic. I eat that on everything.
I'm going to write that down. That sounds
very good.
Down my alley.
I like mustard. I like hot sauce. I'm not a ketchup fan. And here it is. I moved to Pittsburgh, where the capital of Heinz. You know, and I just can't do ketchup. It just doesn't. Not a thing for me. Not a thing.
I like it on a burger. Big ketchup on a hamburger kind of guy.
Again,
not so much on a hot dog.
Mustard.
I put sriracha on everything.
I usually do mustard, but when I'm letting myself go, I'll have some ketchup.
Well, so fans, take the Raj Giri burrito challenge and tweet your photos of you eating ketchup on a burrito.
It's not on it. You dip it in the ketchup.
I dipped it, and I thought, oh, this is gonna be really good. I was like, this tastes like ketchup on a burrito. Like it was. Sometimes there's magic when you.
But you're also eating a veggie burrito. That hurts it.
No, it was like kind of a spice. It was like by this company Sweet Earth. It's like a mix of like tofu and spice and potatoes, and it's like a really good mix.
Now I'm talking about like a beef and bean and cheese burrito. Like a real burrito.
This actually should have worked better because it was like a breakfasty style burrito. And I love ketchup on eggs. I like ketchup on tofu or scrambled tofu all the time.
Yeah.
So everyone tweet Raj your photos of you eating ketchup on a burrito.
Try it out.
You're a Heinz guy though, right? No one's a Hunt's ketchup person.
No,
There's no one that thinks, Hunt tastes better.
I do mix a little Tabasco sometimes into ketchup, give it a little something.
Yes, at that point it's not ketchup anymore. Tabasco ketchup is an entirely different thing.
Yeah.
Well, getting to the bottom of things, everyone, have a good night. He's at Justin LaBar. He's at Raj Giri _303. I'm at Glenn Rubenstein. We'll catch you back here Wednesday with Matt Morgan to talk AEW and NXT.